All right, I'm gonna be showing you a quick video on my methodology when it comes to users. I'm gonna be using this machine bottleneck of try to hack me to show you my methodology when I have credentials. So, for example, I've found credentials using will perform an AS rep roasting. That's the hash cracked by John using John. That is our first user, and that's the password. Now the second user found was that one. That's the credential, and this was found using doing SMB enumeration. So what I'm going to show you is my methodology when it comes to authentication phase. This is going to be very helpful for you if you're practicing or you are taking notes for any of the exams. I did use this type of methodology when I did my OSCP, although these Obsidian notes are not my main or not the main notes that I use. It can give you kind of like an example how to take notes if you're looking to take the exam. So with that said, we have two credentials, and then our next phase would be to zoom in to the credential node, and here we go. Here's the credentials. The next phase would be to authentication testing. There's a couple protocols that I've added here. There's definitely more. What we're gonna be doing testing tonight is gonna be SMB over wmiexec. So essentially, we're gonna be testing our two credentials against SMB, and we're hoping for the best outcome to be that one of those credentials happens to be a local admin. And how we're gonna know that, it's when we ran the credentials and your data will have pawn, or it could just say out okay. That means that if it's authentication okay plus, that means that the credential is valid for SMB enumeration, and then you can use SMB client, which is native to any Linux offensive tools, or definitely one of my to-go tools of the shell is smbng. But if not, if the credentials are for a local admin, then there's a couple lateral movements that you can go or you can follow. 3 of those are going to be for Impacket interactive shells. And one of my favorite one is secrets dump. So you can dump the domain credentials, obtain a hash. In that hash, you can pass the hash. And one of that, you can pass the hash to WinRM. So with that said, that is our goal, or that is my main what I want to show you that my methodology is. So here we are, and let's go ahead and hover over here, SMB over wmiexec. Here it is, and there's two. Here's the example that I have. My notes are here, so I'm gonna be using this since I have more than one credential, and I'm gonna create a user text file, and I'm also going to create a password file so we can run against each other. So first of all, let me I'm in the home directory now, so let me create a directory called bulk, and I think I have the IP in my clipboard, so let me create a variable called target. So now we can echo target, and that's our IP. Perfect. So now let's create a user file, and let's add our two users. This one, tskit and ayhead. So let's do tskit and ayhead, and let's create password.text. Let's copy this as one password. Let's create let's copy the other one. Perfect. So now we have password and users. So let's go back to our helpful command. Let's copy this and let's paste the command, but instead of the variable password, let's put our password file, and same, the users.text, and the target is already target variable. So let's run that. Perfect. All right, perfect. So pawn ayhead pawn to the credentials, which is this. So we know that this user might be a local admin, and then here's a plus. So tskit just has a plus, meaning that he can authenticate to the SMB shares. So now if we go back to our Obsidian notes, we have found a user that might be a local admin, which is this guy right here. So now that we know that we can try one of these three interactive shells, or even secret sum. So let's start with this one, psec.py. So let's go over here. Let's put p this one. Here's the tool, a little bit of description of what it is, what it does. Copy that. Let's paste this command. With the target is already the variable that we want. The password, let's copy the password as this. And we might want to not sure what happened there, but we might need to put this in quotes. And the user is going to be ayhead. The domain is that. Let's copy this, paste that, and we can exit this terminal. So let's go ahead and run that. Perfect, we got a shell, a system32. Okay. for these purposes, we're just going to exit this out and let's try another tool. Instead of smbexec, let's use let's use psec. And this might not look, I think this is hanging, so we're gonna give it a little bit of 5 more seconds. If not, we can use SMB win mi. I don't think it's gonna work. Let's try the other one. And I think this, yep, this one worked. Perfect. Who am I? Okay, perfect. So, and as you know, we can do all of that because our user was a local admin. And that's how we can get an interactive shell. So do know that you do have those 3 options. And psec did not work, but wmi and smbexec did work. Just for the video, let's also do secrets dump. So let's do secrets dump. Secrets dump. Perfect. And I need the command is this. Again, we need the password. Let's copy the quotation marks just in case. And let's use the user 8 Whitehead. The domain, I forgot what it was. That's the domain. Copy. Paste it in here. And permission denied. So we might have to run a sudo perfect. There it is. So this is our administrator hash. We can copy this and we can definitely now pass the hash to either WinRM, or we can go back and use one of those 3 tools again, but this time we're going to be using passing the hash. But if you're able to get a shell using these 3 interactive tools, then you don't really need to dump the domain hashes. That's just a proof of concept that you can do all of that. Now, with this user, that it was okay, then you can definitely enumerate just the shares with this user. And this is simply my methodology that I follow. Again, if you're able to find what works for you, just put it in practice, and hopefully this video helps. And I think I can definitely share my notes.